Hi, welcome to Maree. Today I've got a video about a curious vegetable. It's called Cavolo Nero. You might have seen it in the shops and thought, what is that and what would I do with it? Kind of looks like dinosaur skin. Well, it's like black kale or black cabbage. So Cavolo means cabbage in Italian and Nero means black. So where does it hail from? Italy, of course, in the Tuscan region. I love Italian food and we receive an organic fruit and veggie box weekly. And for the last 2 weeks, guess what I've got? This strange thing. I don't usually like lots of cabbage and I've done stir fries and I've done it as a side, but I thought, what can I do with it today that's new and that I can share with you guys? So I have this Italian cookbook, which some friends, Flavia and Alessandra, gave me. I flicked over and thought, oh, there's a tart with ricotta and spinach. Maybe I could swap the spinach out and put Cavolo Nero. So that's what I'm going to share with you today. So let's get mixing. I've got some spelt flour here, or you can use plain flour. So that's 250 grams or 2 cups. If you don't have a mixer, you get a big bowl, wooden spoon, or do it with your hands. Now we're going to get our chilled butter out of the fridge with some chilled water. But before I do this, I need to tell you a little bit more about Cavolo Nero. So if you want to know how to store it, it came in a plastic bag and they recommended get a damp tea towel and wrap it around the base. And that's how I've stored it for the last 4 days. And it still looks fresh. Is it good for you? Yes, it's high in iron, lots of vitamins, and it's 80 grams of this raw equals 1 of your 5 a day. So back to the pastry. So I've got my chilled butter already cubed and ready to go. A great tip. Do this before you even start and have it ready and waiting in the refrigerator so you can just pop it in. Let's check my notes on how much butter I've got. So I've got 125 grams of chilled butter. So we throw that in. So we need to mix this around until it resembles fine breadcrumbs. You're wondering what it tastes like? It's kind of tangy and bitter, but it's got this sweet aftertaste. So I actually like it more than cabbage. I'm not a huge cabbage fan. I think I got overwhelmed with so much cabbage as a child. My mother loves it, so she was always cooking it. So I think that's all my fun facts about Cavolo Nero. So don't be scared. If you see it in the shops, grab a bunch and try making this recipe. So the next step is we need to add an egg. So I've got 1 egg. So some pastry says just put the egg yolk in, but this one says put the whole egg. So I'm just going with the recipe. And then we need to put in some chilled water. So I'm going to put in, it says 2 to 3 tablespoons. I'm going to put in 3 first. No, sorry. I'm going to put in 2 first and then see how we go. And if we need an extra one, we'll throw it in. It's better if you don't overwork the dough. I've dusted my bench with a bit of flour. Pop that dough, impasto they call it in Italy. We're going to put our impasto in the frigorifero, refrigerator, for 15 minuti, which is 15 minutes. I'm showing off now, telling you my Italian. We rested in the fridge for 15 minutes. Now step 2 is we need to prepare our Cavolo Nero. We need to remove this stem. And we just want to use the curly part of the leaves. And the recipe says we need 500 grams. So I'm just going to chop it all up. It's only 104, 103. Look, I've got some other pieces here which look a bit spotty, but I think I'm just going to throw them in because once it's all mixed together, it'll be fine. And they weigh 74. But you know what? I like to just crack on and do things and experiment. So I'm just going to go with it even though I don't quite have enough. I think it'll be fine. So on closer inspection, when I turned over these other extra leaves, they've got like white spots on them. So I think I'm just going to not put them in because I'm a bit worried that it's like a mold or something. So they'll get tossed to the rabbits that I don't have. So let's do step 3. So just before we do step 3, we need to put the oven on. So I'm putting it on 160. And I have a fan forced oven. If you don't have a fan, pop it on 180 and I'll write the Fahrenheit measurements in the description below or in the little text. And just want to talk about tart tins. So I bought this recently and I love it because it's super easy. Has a removable base, so the pie never sticks, and it's got this fancy edge, so it always looks good. It's a 23 centimetre or 9 inch. But I do also have a glass dish which the pies taste good, but it's always tricky to get them out. And then I bought this massive one first time round, which is a 27 centimetre, which I hardly use because it makes a big pie. So the 23 centimeters serves about 6 people. So step 3, we need to pan fry 1 onion, which I've chopped up. So we're just going to toss that in the oil. And the recipe said 2 cloves of garlic. I don't have any garlic, but I've got this Cheats garlic, which is lazy garlic, already minced. So I'm popping in 2 teaspoons. So we're looking for the onion to be soft, but not brown. So our onions translucent, soft and cooked with our garlic. I'm going to pop in my chopped Cavolo Nero. We don't want to cook it, but I'm just going to use the heat from the pan to soften it a little bit. I can't quite understand in the Italian recipe what to do next, so I'm just doing that because I think that's the right thing to do. So I've got ricotta cheese, which is 185 grams. I didn't measure that out in a cup, so let's have a look. It's almost a cup, but I think if I squash it down, it'd be 3/4 of a cup. So we'll pop that in. I'm going to pop in some salt and pepper. The recipe doesn't say so, but I think it'll taste good. And I didn't have any Parmesan cheese, so I don't like to be beaten and not do a recipe, so I've ad-libbed and I'm using a Swedish cheese that we have here, which is a really hard cheese called Västerbottensen. It's delicious. So it's like a really hard, mature cheese. So I'm throwing that in because I think that'll taste good. And I've got 3 eggs that I've already beaten lightly. Now the recipe said put mint in. I don't have fresh mint and I don't really like it in cooking or in this kind of thing. So I'm going to leave it out. So that's all combined. So it's been 15 minutes and our pastry is ready to roll out. So while we're rolling this out, we're going to cool the spinach. That's softened it a little bit and I've just mixed it with the onions. So we need to cool that before we add it to the ricotta. So the recipe says put 2 pieces of paper down to roll out our pastry. So let's do that. Before I go any further, I'm just going to take off the top. We're going to cut off 1/3 of it because we need to save that for the top. So I think that roughly looks like 1/3. We'll just set that aside. I think I should have done that first. We want to get the dough so it's about the size of or the thickness of a £1 or $1 coin. So we're just going to relax that into the pie dish. We want to keep the overhang because we need to join that with the top. And if you find that you get to this stage and it's too short on one side, don't worry because that's happened to me before. All you do is you chop some of the long side off and then you patch up where you might think it's too short. And once it's cooked, no one knows. It looks really good. So we're going to pop that to one side. Even though I don't have as much as the recipe, I think looking at the size of my tart dish, I think it's going to work fine. Yeah, there's definitely enough veggies in here. Time for the top. So next step is we've got our extra pastry. So in the picture here in my cookbook, they've rolled out the lattice top and cut 12 strips. It doesn't look like I've got enough, so I might cheat a little bit and do 8. I'm just going to use a little knife and see if I can make some strips. So the end one I think is useless. So I'm going to do about a finger width apart. So we start with the middle one. Now I need a little bit of water. I've got some water left over in this jug. I'm just going to moisten my fingers. And then we just need to turn over the edge into the lattice bit that we just did. What I love about this tin is you can take the rolling pin and just press it over the edge and it cuts off against that fluted edge so you get a nice crisp line. There you go. Before we pop it in the oven, we need to do an egg wash. So they actually said do a milk wash, but I'm going to do an egg wash because I have got an egg yolk to use up. So I've popped a little bit of cold water in there. We've just got a pastry brush. I'm just going to brush over all of the top and then we'll give it a little bit of a glaze. So if you don't have a spare egg, you can use milk. Okay, I think I've managed to recreate a version of a lattice pie. The last final step, my little hint of something different. I'm just throwing them everywhere. It's sesame seeds. So I'm just going to grab some and sprinkle them over the top, just so it looks pretty. So my Cavolo Nero tart is going in the oven for 40 minutes until golden brown. And then we're going to do a taste test, so stick around. Oh, little handy hint. It's always good to pop your tart tin on a tray, because in case you get any spills, you won't have a dirty oven. So my Cavolo Nero and ricotta pie is all cooked. I was just checking out against the cookbook and I think mine looks pretty good. So now we just need to wait till it totally cools before I cut it. I'm going to leave it for an hour or two. In the meantime, you might want to just lift off the outer ring while it's still warm. And the easiest way to do that is get a cup or a bowl or something and grab your gloves, and then you sit that on either a cup or a bowl to release the top ring. Hopefully I can do it on camera. I think it's still too hot to handle. I'm going to let it cool down a bit longer. I'll try and do this, maybe when I'm not showing you. So just as I flicked the record button off, I just got away a few of the crusty bits and the ring dropped down. So there you go. So that's how you get the ring off. So we're going to let it cool down before I even attempt to cut it. So our Cavolo Nero tart with ricotta cheese has had time to cool down. So I'm going to cut into it. So if I was to serve this for dinner, I'd probably heat it up for about 20 minutes just on a low oven. So I think we definitely had enough greens. I don't think that's the problem. And let's try the pastry. It's buttery and light. Delicious. Look at that. If you served this at a cafe, I think you'd be happy. So let's try it and see what it tastes like. Almost tastes like a spinach pie, but not quite. It's really nice. Maybe in hindsight, I could have chopped my Cavolo Nero a little bit finer. It doesn't really taste like a quiche at all. It tastes like a nice, cheesy, spinach-like, but not spinach, tart. All right, I think this is a winner. Great way to eat Cavolo Nero. So if you've enjoyed my video today, hit the thumbs up, share it with a friend, write a comment below, and let me know if you give this a go. Or let me know if you've ever tried Cavolo Nero and if you've got some way or a recipe that you cook Cavolo Nero that didn't come out right. Write a comment below if you've got any recipes that you use Cavolo Nero in, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.